The Simple Series, Volume 95, The Zombie Virus, The Hippocratic Oath, a sacred vow taken by those in the medical profession, a promise to heal and not hurt. When the world is turned upside down, so too is the oath. Drive, little ginger man, drive. The Zombie vs. QQ Sha, or known by its English title, The Zombie vs. Ambulance, or once more by its European release as The Zombie Virus, is quite possibly the most underrated zombie game out there. It's a standout title in an extremely saturated genre of games. I wonder why this game never made it to the US. Especially considering this title was released during the height of the zombie game craze back in 2006. Still, it's nice to see this little game blend the arcadey action of Crazy Taxi and the blood-soaked fun of the more popular Simple Series title, Oneechanbara, into a title that captures the essence of what the Simple Series is all about: high ambition and low budget. Here's the setup. The setting takes place in the manufactured utopian Sunlight City. This city was divided into 5 areas with a central zone to wrap them all together. In the middle of the city is where the hospital resides. You play as a ketchup-headed medical student working in the archives with your platonic researcher friend Susie. In the blink of an eye, you're swept out of the friend zone and placed into the danger zone because an earthquake hits the city, and when things start to settle down, you look outside to see that Sunlight City has become overrun with zombies. You run to the basement of the hospital and you're shaking in your purple Crocs. And Susie's trying to calm you down, and then you hear a broadcast over the radio. You find out that 90% of the population is dead, and the other 10% are awaiting rescue. You snap out of your fear and you decide to hop in the ambulance to rescue those survivors. Alright, so let's talk about gameplay here. On the display you have your car's durability, which is the amount of damage you can take. This increases or decreases based on your loadout. The more hits you take, the slower your ambulance accelerates until it eventually explodes and it's game over. This little T stands for turbo, which allows for you to boost to top speed for a few seconds. Use these wisely. The further along you get in the game, the more turbos you can use at one time. These little lights here indicate how many survivors at one time you can carry. Up to a max of 4 survivors depending on your vehicle. Up in the top left is an icon of the hospital. This is the hospital's morale gauge, which will end the game if you run out of morale. How do you refill this gauge? Well, by running over the undead roaming the city, of course. The more zombies you run over in a row, the more compliments you receive from a disembodied Asian voice. You better watch out because occasionally a zombie will latch onto your vehicle, as indicated by these cardboard zombie hands on the screen. In those cases, you have to jiggle the analog sticks to shake them off. Anyways, you travel through the city smashing through zombies in order to collect survivors to bring them back to the hospital. Each survivor belongs to a certain class. For example, take your average civilian. Collect 1 civilian and your hospital's morale gets upgraded by a couple of points. There's a catch though, and this is where the challenge lies. Every survivor you pick up is infected already, and the rate of their infection is indicated by that purple stuff in their silhouette. You're left with a couple of options. Do you play it safe and book it back to the hospital as quickly as possible? Or do you risk it to find another survivor out there to save yourself a future trip and get more upgrades? Be careful, because if the survivor's gauge reaches the top, they'll zomb out and start destroying your ambulance until you ram into a wall to purge them from your car. Do not fret here, because you have a green arrow at the top of the screen that will always guide you home, and if you're in the middle of a good run and you want to go for another survivor but you're kind of pushing it, you may find yourself in luck and stumble upon a randomly generated vaccine on the field that lowers the infection of all survivors in the vehicle. It's key that you seek out these pickups before you pick up a group of civilians, so you can cure them temporarily before you trek back to the hospital. That's a big part of this game's strategy. The main objective here is to collect enough survivors to spawn a politician. Politicians are the most valuable survivors, and I guess this is some sort of commentary on society here, but they hold the keys to the various parts of the city, and they're needed to progress to the bosses and thereafter the next area of the game. When you take survivors back to the hospital, you get a list of the specialists you've collected during your run. They range from male and female civs, police officers, military, mechanics, and politicians. As you bring more survivors back, your base grows and gets stronger. A neat little bonus is that you can then talk to the survivors to learn a little bit more about the story, or receive hints. At your base, you can also read up on the controls and save your game here too. Sometimes I just like to set the controller down and just listen to the hospital's theme song. It's very soothing and relaxing. While you're on the road, you want to keep an eye out for mechanics because when you collect them and take them back to your base, you can then command them to build you upgrades to your ambulance or new vehicles entirely. The customization aspect of the vehicles is what sold me on this game that I downloaded for free. Here's the catch. First, you need to select what part you want the mechanic to develop, and then you have to go out there and kill a number of zombies to add that part to your inventory. Dead zombies act as the currency in this game. They're not fucking around. The amount of zombies you have left until an upgrade is ready is kept tracked by these little gear icons on the map. They'll disappear when it's ready. Your ambulance has one body and 4 different parts that can be swapped out to specialize the vehicle to achieve certain tasks or gameplay styles. Say maybe you want a heavy death machine with a bladed bumper and spiked tires to focus on zombie killing for upgrades. Maybe you have a need for speed and precision to seek out and collect more survivors at one time and make it back to the hospital in a safe manner. The cool part is you can save up to 5 different loadouts at once and swap out depending on your needs. A new garage becomes available with each new vehicle that you unlock. Half the fun of this game is mixing and matching the perfect loadout for your needs, and the other half is decimating the undead with your new death machine. Or is it re-death machine? Because they're already dead. Okay, so once you collected enough politicians, you then open the boss room. Oh my god, these bosses are ridiculous. These bosses range from a cakewalk graboid to an annoyingly long zombie soldier fight. Regardless, each fight is simple enough to learn the patterns for the next time around should you die. So I never felt like these fights were ever unfair. Once you beat the boss, you unlock the next part of the city. Each area has new terrain that can affect the way the ambulance controls. For example, there's an ice level. That, you know, is an ice level. And there's a desert with shifting sand and so on and so forth. Each area has a new type of zombie to smash, a new layout to memorize. Just keep a note of where the exit to the central part of the city is and you're gonna do fine. Okay, I know that sounded like a very long-winded explanation of this game, but once you pick it up, you'll understand the simplicity of the design, and you're gonna get sucked into this bizarre little title. And this title just grabs onto you like a zombie on the roof of an ambulance driving through a darkened city. From the bizarre B-movie horror plot to the twitchy zombie loading screens, I loved every aspect of this game, and I'd like to see something like this rise from the dead in some form or another into the HD generation. Maybe if enough awareness is brought to this title, that could happen. Anyway, that's all I have for episode 1 of the Simple series. Thanks for watching. If this was something you enjoyed and you'd like to see continue, then leave me a comment down below. I'll see you all next time.